Today we're looking at 14 NBA players that must be traded this season. Listen, maybe not must, but if I was these teams, I think they should at least look at moving these players and making some of these proposed trades that I've come up with. The one thing I will say though is I'm not mentioning any trades or anything that has to do with the Lakers. I'm tired about hearing them in trade rumors for every single player in the league that they have no pieces to get, and I'm not going to propose Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks for every single trade scenario. But okay, with that said, let's get started. Now, if I was the Atlanta Hawks, unfortunately, I think it may be time for them to move on from John Collins. I know last year I was saying the Trae Young and Collins duo should stay together for a long time to come, but it hasn't really been panning out how I expected. I think the Hawks already have all the players or assets on their roster right now to be real championship contenders. They just gotta make some moves. So for Collins, I would look at trading him for Cam Johnson, Landry Shamet, and Jay Crowder from the Phoenix Suns. For Phoenix, it gives them a pretty big upgrade at power forward with a guy that can just as easily play with DeAndre Jordan, while only costing them really Cam Johnson because they already have enough depth at point guard and Crowder doesn't want to be there anyway. As for Atlanta, well, they get to make a change while not aging up. They get much more needed depth at point guard and the toughness and experience of Crowder that would really help Trae out, and that I think is actually missing from this Hawks team, so it works for both sides. Now, if I was the Dallas Mavericks, there's a lot of potential for them to make another big move this year. They got a lot of extra depth on this team, especially in the front court, but I think they're still missing that go-to defender on the team that can play in the starting lineup with Luka. They don't really have that, so I think trading for OG Anunoby is the play. And listen, I don't have the perfect trade to make this work, but I know Dallas has a lot to offer and they have a lot of big men on the roster, while Toronto lacks in size. So I think there may be something here to make it work. And if I were the Mavs, I'd be all over this one trying to figure it out. And if not, I'd be watching every team looking for a player like this for them. But that might not be possible without a VPN, which would help them watch sporting events nationwide, even the blacked out ones. And I need to give a quick thank you to Private Internet Access for sponsoring the video before I can tell you exactly what I mean. Now, a VPN will let you change your location to anywhere in the world, which would give you access to pretty much any NBA game in the location of your choice. So you can watch all your favorite content anywhere in the world. And at the same time, they'll block ads, trackers, and malicious websites for you. And not only that, but they have a world-class next-gen server infrastructure covering over 83 countries and every single US state for a fast, secure, and reliable connection anywhere you go. And their name says it all because PIA doesn't save any logs based on your usage. They give you 100% anonymity and even made their code public, so you can look for yourself and see how private and secure PIA actually is. Almost no other VPN is that transparent. Private Internet Access VPN has completed an independent audit conducted by Deloitte, so you can be sure that nobody knows what you're doing online. Their no-log policy has been proven multiple times in court. So with that, combined with their 4.6 stars on Trustpilot, you should hurry over to their Black Friday offer of an 83% discount on 2 years of PIA for only $2.03 a month, which equals out to 4 entire months being free. Go to www.piavpn.com/AustinSweat to get the deal, or click my link in the top of the description. Shout out to them for the sponsor. Now back to the video. 2 of the most talked about players that have been in the most trade talks but still have yet to be traded are Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. A lot of ideas out there package these 2 guys together in a deal, but I don't have any good ones involving Hield. Sorry, buddy. And right now, with how good the Pacers have been, maybe they don't even trade these guys. But if they do, there's a couple scenarios, at least for Miles. I think it'd be great for the Nets to send Nick Claxton, Joe Harris, and a first-round pick to them for Miles Turner and TJ McConnell. For the Pacers, it gets them a solid young center replacement with potential, Joe Harris to make the deal work, and a pick which should be more than enough, especially if no other offers come in, seeing that Miles Turner will be a free agent at the end of the year. And that's why a deal with him is going to be tricky for any team involved, because they could give up all these assets and then he could just likely sign with a new team in the offseason, so he'd have to go to a contender who's desperate to take that risk. And that's why the Nets came in. They're extremely lacking in size, and not only does Miles Turner more than make up for that, but he's having a great year on offense so far and can still step out and hit the 3, while TJ McConnell could add some nice depth. The Chicago Bulls need major help on defense down low, so I would suggest a trade for them, but as this year's starting to look more and more like a throwaway from them, I'll pass. Another team that needs a little more defense down low though is the Mavericks, who we just mentioned, and I think they'd be able to get Miles and McConnell for a first-round pick, Josh Green, and Davis Bertans. And to be able to have a front court of Christian Wood and Miles Turner late in games to play with Luka would take them to the next level. And even if Turner leaves as a free agent, they would now have a lot of cap space opened up to sign someone if not him. So it could be a win-win. And speaking of win-win, those are 2 words that the Charlotte Hornets are unfamiliar with, because they're having a nightmare season right now. Of course, it's all because of LaMelo's injuries, but it also has to do with them losing their entire front court this year. So if I was them, I'd be looking to swap Gordon Hayward for Julius Randle. The Hornets need more help down low. They currently only have 3 players averaging over 5 rebounds a game, and Mason Plumlee leads the team with 8. And this move just works for them. Charlotte's currently playing 2 small small forwards in their lineup, and Gordon's not the best fit there. And while they do have PJ Washington, he's been on the trade block, and I feel like they might move on from him soon. While for the Knicks, well, they actually play worse when Randall's on the floor, which is the #1 reason they should be looking to move him. And bringing in Hayward isn't the best scenario, but it would give them another leader for their young team, and a guy that wouldn't actually hurt them more than he would help. But while speaking of New York, we can slide over to the Brooklyn Nets. There's been some signs recently that show the Nets may end up turning things around. Ben Simmons is starting to have a couple big games here and there, and Kyrie Irving's finally back. But if things still go south, maybe KD actually ends up getting traded now. I think if anything, Simmons and Kyrie are pretty untradeable, so if anything were to happen, it would probably be KD demanding a trade again and it happening. Seeing how things with the league have turned out, I think a lot of those deals from the offseason are now off the table, but one that still remains would be to the Miami Heat. I don't have a particular scenario, but Miami's been looking rough this season, but they still have the young assets and big contracts to trade away to make a deal work. Plus with them having KD, then Jimmy Butler as a second option, to go with this heavy defense Miami team would make them instant championship contenders, I think. I mean, that's what we said with the Nets and KD. But okay, at least on paper it would. Now, while Mo Bamba isn't as big of a star, he should be seen as a better player than he currently is, because the Orlando Magic just aren't using him right. They don't believe in him, which is why he just recently signed to a 2-year deal instead of a 4, and are now bringing him in off the bench. But he could help a lot of teams as a starter, because he's a 7-foot shot blocker that can shoot threes. There's a ton of teams he could end up on, but I think a trade with the Oklahoma City Thunder makes too much sense. Right now, they don't really have a good player at the 5, and they could get the 24-year-old Mo Bamba for just a first-round pick, which they have plenty of. And I think Mo has a lot of potential to get better. He fits in with the young age of their team, and could really fit onto any roster in the league right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one happens sometime this year. I would kind of be surprised if this next trade did happen though. But if I was the Golden State Warriors, I would at least start to really consider trading Draymond Green. This season's looking rough already, and rumors came out in July that Draymond wants a max contract. I don't think he'll get that from any team, but he can be a free agent at the end of the year if he chooses to, and if he's gonna try to leave to get more money, maybe send him to the Atlanta Hawks for John Collins before that happens. Draymond playing with Trae Young couldn't be any better of a scenario for them, seeing how he's the one guy who knows exactly how to play with Trae. I think it would really take the Hawks to the next level too, because somehow they're still lacking that veteran leadership, and this trade would fix that. I don't love the fit alongside DeAndre Hunter and Clint Capella, but it may be worth a shot. While as for the Warriors, John Collins is way younger, on a much longer deal, would give the team a lot more offense, and with his ability to stretch the floor, which Draymond can't do at all, it could potentially fix a lot of problems in this terrible season they're having. Now, I expect Draymond to be smarter than this and know that he's not worth the max contract, and he should just stay for whatever the Warriors can offer him, but if he doesn't, this one might be possible. Another guy that's gotta go to help Golden State fix things though is James Wiseman. I think he's a bust, and the Warriors shouldn't have picked him in the draft. I haven't seen anything from him in the last 2 years that will convince me otherwise, but he's still 21 years old, and if the Warriors were smart, they still have some time to convince other teams that he has potential, and maybe they can deal him to the rebuilding Spurs for Jakob Poeltl. It'd help their depth and bring in a great defender. While for San Antonio, they've been known for developing players and getting them to their full potential, even if it takes a few years. So I think this would be a good way for Golden State to make up for that draft mistake and to help their current team, while the Spurs could sneak their way into getting a former 2nd overall pick. Something that has to happen this year is the Miami Heat have to fix their frontcourt issues, because right now they just simply don't have one. They need to do something quick, seeing how their season is just getting worse and worse, and in their frontcourt they're playing a 6'5" Caleb Martin at power forward and 6'9" Bam Adebayo at center. Sure, adding 6'7" Bojan Bogdanovic isn't a huge improvement in terms of size, but at least he has the experience playing the position on winning teams, and offensively he fits right in with everyone on the roster. So I think the Heat should really go for him, and if they want Bojan, they're gonna have to give up at least rookie Nikola Jovic, a first-round pick, and Duncan Robinson to make the salaries match. And obviously it works out for the Pistons. They have no business wasting Bogdanovic's talent right now, but if they can get a young player and a pick in return for him, they should jump on that opportunity. If Miami's serious about fixing the size of their team though, then maybe they send that same deal to Indiana in return for Miles Turner. And with his shooting ability, he could fit in perfectly playing alongside Bam, who could switch to playing power forward. But again, as I've mentioned, it's risky seeing how he's a free agent this year. But speaking of size in the front court, the Minnesota Timberwolves fixed that problem of theirs recently, but it's still not working for the team, and I think the logical next step here is to find a trade for D'Angelo Russell, who's been pretty disappointing to watch play recently, and I just don't think he fits in with the team anymore. I wasn't able to find the perfect trade for him anywhere, but I did find 2 teams he could end up on, which was the Washington Wizards or the Los Angeles Clippers. Both teams could use an upgrade at point guard, and the Wizards especially, who have shown potential this year but are starting Monte Morris, so D'Angelo would be a huge upgrade for them, while their assets could help the Wolves a lot in return. But on the other hand, the Clippers have a ton of tradable players too, and that might be the route to go for them if they want a slight upgrade from Reggie Jackson and John Wall. They got a ton of role players on their team that could get much bigger roles somewhere else, so keep an eye on this one. Then there's a few more players that I could see getting moved, moved, but I couldn't necessarily find the best deal for them, and that's Zach LaVine because there was just too many possibilities. I think every team could make a move for him if they wanted to. Tobias Harris, who will probably never get moved because of his contract, but Philly shouldn't give up on trying, and Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. I mentioned Hayward earlier, but it wasn't the best deal, and right now the Hornets have 2 point guards and 2 small forwards in their starting lineup, so they should definitely do something soon and try to move both. If you can think of any trades that would work better than mine, comment them down below because I want to hear them. And if not, like and subscribe, and I'm out.